I wrote the first of the shorts. It's called Have I Got a Story for You? And DC came to me. I was working on another project with them at the time, and I can't remember who it was, but I think they knew I was a Batman fan, and asked me if I would be interested in writing one of these things. And I said absolutely. I had the funny thing was, and this is probably it's how I live with myself, but it's probably also going to be to the detriment of my career. I think it was about a month after I had just been nominated for an Academy Award for writing History of Violence, and I had just turned down some gigantic studio feature, and then I got offered this, and I jumped on it immediately, and I know my agent's sitting there going, "What are you doing?" Because there's more money in features, folks. But I was just, it was Batman, man. You don't say no to Batman. And so I jumped all over it, and it was just a thrill to do. My segment is it's starting to become a genre because there's now at least 3 different stories that do this over the course of the last 30 years. But there was a Detective Comics story. There was an episode of Batman the Animated Series that did this. I think there's another animated story that does it. But we all have our different takes on it. Mine's about 3 kids discussing an encounter with Batman that each of them has had, and each of them perceives him in a very different way. Mine is each kid actually sees him at a different part of the same story, the same encounter with the same villain, and they're telling a 4th kid about their encounter, and the 4th kid's just sitting there going, "You got to be making this up." My little joke was because Chris Nolan directed both the Batman films and a film I love, Memento. I had them tell the story backwards. Oh yeah, no, I've been a comic kid since day one, and I would say Batman was always just absolutely one of my very favorite characters. And I think I've always liked about him. It's like what everybody likes about him is he's not, he's got to get by on wits and ingenuity. He is not a superhero. He's a hero, and he's got no extra powers. He's just the smartest guy on the block, and I like that because I like characters who can outthink, think their way out of a situation. It's always frustrating to me. I'm always amazed when people can pull off writing Superman, because to me, it's such a hard character to deal with because he can just hit everything and make it go away, Whereas Batman's got to figure out how to climb these mountains without those powers, and then that's appealing to anybody. I've kicked around the idea. I've had an idea for a graphic novel for a while that I've talked to a couple people at DC about, but very cryptically, and someday perhaps, yeah. Because I hear there's even less money in graphic novels than in animated DVDs, so that's my next step. I'm actually just handing in, I'm writing, it's a bit of a departure, a sequel for Warner Brothers to The Wizard of Oz, which is a lot of fun. And from there I'm going on, I've adapted a short story by Dennis Lehane, who wrote Mystic River, and I'm going to be directing that. But I definitely want to come back to comic books at some point.